Hello and welcome to Marketing Global Edition. I'm Jasmine Montgomery.
And I'm Piers Jurassic Park. So, Jasmine, what are we going to talk about today?
So today we are talking about the ads that cost more than most people's mortgages.
Ah, I see. The winners and losers of this year's Super Bowl. It wasn't, who was it? It was the Patriots and the Seahawks. Anyway, it's not about them. It's about the ads in between, right?
You, of course, being a boy, know the sports. I just think of it as Bad Bunny's concert. But yes, absolutely. So a Super Bowl ad slot this year in 2026 cost about $8 million for 30 seconds, according to industry estimates.
It's just astounding, isn't it? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth it? What were the big trends? Anything amazing came out of it?
I mean, it's really hard to say what the ROI is, and lots of people have different, different models for it. But there were some really interesting. There were the usual themes, right? So all the things that we talk about every year: celebrities, iconic, great bits of music, high emotion. But not all Bad Bunny's halftime show, although that's what so many people are talking about. But we're talking about the ads, and we see those themes every year, but this year there were a couple of new trends.
Okay, yeah, and I'm saying, hey, what are we talking about? But actually, of course, I have watched it all and I've looked at all the ads, so that's why I'm talking about it. Just to be clear here.
I know.
But what was really interesting? Usually, you see beer and car ads, and you see like washing powder ads and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
We saw more AI platform ads than beer and car ads combined.
Amazing.
I mean, think about that for a second. Traditionally it was things like Budweiser and Dodge and like Ford.
Yeah.
But now it's chatbots.
Yes, AI platforms dominated, but tech generally was on show. There were tweaking robots selling a vodka, a homicidal Amazon Alexa trying to kill Chris Hemsworth, which nobody should do. I love him. And then quite a rubbish ad for crypto, which we'll talk about, all showing us a real sign of the times, right?
Yeah. It's a seismic shift, actually, and that's what's really fascinating. Tech companies are selling us the future, right? Getting us all to come along to that. But there's these other brands who are desperately clinging on to the past. And this year, we saw an avalanche of 1990s nostalgia in the advertising, which is interesting.
It was so interesting, wasn't it? On the one hand, the future and AI and robots and everything else. And on the other hand, major 90s nostalgia. If nothing else, I think the prevalence of Backstreet Boys appearing in not one but two separate ads was a bit of a throwback. I don't know if that was a throwback to your youth, Piers, but it was a bit of a throwback to mine. But certainly what was a throwback to my youth was Jennifer Aniston and Matt LeBlanc reuniting for a fake sort of sitcom. It was like somebody raided the time capsule of millennial childhood and kind of dumped it onto our screens.
Yeah. Anyway, so look, what we're going to do is we're going to look deeply at these two dominant trends, AI and nostalgia. Those are the two sort of things that came out of it. We'll describe the ads in detail. So in case you haven't seen them, you can visualize them. We'll talk about the messaging they're sending, and most importantly, whilst we might like some of them, we'll actually talk about which ones worked as effective advertising.
Yeah, because there's a massive difference between an ad that goes viral and one that actually sells products. So let's have a look, maybe starting with, what are we going to start with, Piers?
Okay, well, let's talk about the AI invasion. Let's talk about AI. So there were 7 different companies that bought Super Bowl spots to promote their AI platforms. 7. Mm-hmm. So see if you remember them all, recognize them all. Google Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, OpenAI's ChatGPT, which I think the world knows, AI.com, GenSpark, Wix, and 𝐻𝐽𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸
addressing what people really feel about AI. Because according to a number of recent polls before the game, consumers in America, but I think in a lot of places, are pretty negative about AI. And actually, the New York Times ran an article a little while ago entitled, "Why Do Americans Hate AI?" So these companies had a real challenge on their hands.
That's right. So some chose to lean into optimism and opportunity, and others actually went into attack mode. And let's start with the winners, the ads that actually worked.
So there was a clear winner rated A by the advertising experts, and a lot of the different, loads of people do kind of rankings, and they measure different things from online engagement to, sort of, research sentiment amongst people. But the general clear winner was Google Gemini, and I think it worked because it did something quite radical in the AI space. It directly it really acknowledged people's anxieties rather than ignoring them.
Yeah, it did it quite well. So let me paint you a picture of the ad for anyone that didn't see it. Okay, the ad, which is New Home, you can call it, is a sentimental, story-driven spot showing a mum helping her young son feel comfortable about moving house. She does this by using Gemini to visualize their future home together. So they'll talk about his bedroom and they'll color it, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was really sweet and lovely. I probably relate to it as a mum. But what was really interesting was, yeah, you didn't like it, right?
It's effective, but I just thought that's not emotional for me. But I am British, so
yeah,
it's American emotion. It's different. So.
Yeah, emotion is different in the UK, and also Europe. I mean, this problem with any kind of storytelling is it can be very gendered. I mean, I remember you loved the John Lewis ad that had, a father-son narrative, and here we have a mother-son narrative, and all of a sudden I'm like practically in tears and you're left cold. So I think that that's one of the problems with narratives. But that aside, I loved it actually, and the general consensus was people loved it. You can either decide that means I am right or just that I seem to agree with the many-headed, whichever you prefer. But what was cunning about it, it doesn't sort of show you the mother and son, but it shows you kind of their screen. And the son is nervous about moving into a new home. He's a little kid. And the mum is kind of, using Gemini to pull up images of the new house and then digitally recreate his old bedroom, sort of adding his bed, his toys, wall color, even the dog's bed. And then they kind of they imagine other parts of their future, kind of designing the garden and so on. And that kind of reassures him that the move will be okay. So I thought it was really sweet and really emotional and lovely.
Yeah, I mean, what made it good for everyone but me? No, I do recognise an ad that works, right? What made this good is it did have that emotional sort of through line in it. It's not about AI being magical or sci-fi. It's just real world stuff, right? It's about the moment and the stress of moving to a new home, trying to convince your family that it's going to be fine. There's some big decisions here. Yeah. And technology helps do that by just visualizing possibility and getting the little kid excited and hopeful about it rather than stressed. So it's quite sweet.
Yeah, I thought there was incredible emotion. I thought there was incredible emotion in the voiceovers, but it was just showing you exactly what the product does. It wasn't kind of AI will change the world. It was kind of AI will help you pick a paint color, and I thought that was kind of practical, understandable, useful, and non-threatening.
Yeah, and that's why it got an A grade by many. It combined that emotional storytelling with a clear product demonstration.
Yeah.
But it really did reassure them, and it reassures the audience rather than hyping them up and scaring them about this world of AI, which people are pretty generally anxious about.
Yeah.
And Google said this can actually help you with everyday things, that's all you want to hear, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about OpenAI, who own ChatGPT, their ad for Codex. So this is ChatGPT's Codex product, which took a completely different approach, but was also quite effective. So this one was perhaps a bit more aspirational.
Yeah, it's a series of vignettes. A kid's hands making a marble out of cardboard, a teenager's hands making a motherboard. You see it all sort of from their perspective.
Yeah, it's all about sort of curiosity and creation. So each shot is sort of showing somebody, particularly teenagers, young people, building things, imagining things, bringing ideas to life. They kind of evoke Einstein. The voiceover is simple but powerful. The whole message of the ad is you can just build things.
Yeah, what's clever here is what they're not saying. They're not explicitly addressing the fear that AI is going to replace jobs or make humans obsolete. Instead, they're positioning AI as a tool that democratizes creation, that helps ordinary people do extraordinary things.
Yeah, it's aspirational without being sort of unrealistic. It's not kind of the message is AI doesn't replace your creativity; it amplifies it. You have the ideas, and now you have a tool to execute them, even if you don't know how to code or design or write.
Yeah, I think it worked because it focused on human energy. ChatGPT is positioned as a tool, right? It's a modern tool that continues everyday life and tradition, not something that replaces it. So they sort of positioned it like that, which is sort of smart.
Yeah, I mean, it did get a bit of backlash actually online from people saying, hang on a minute, but you position yourselves as aiding creativity. Actually, it's going to take away our jobs. But anyway, another one that I think was really interesting was Anthropic, which they're the makers of Claude. Claude, which is like 챗GPT, but much less well known. So they didn't go warm and fuzzy like 챗GPT and Gemini. They went straight for OpenAI's throat with attack ads, right?
They did indeed. So let me describe them because they're deliciously uncomfortable. There's a series of 4 ads called Betrayal, Violation, Treachery, and Deception. What great headings.
Yeah, they were really fun. And so basically there's 4 different scenes, right? So you'll get like a young kind of a sort of quite weedy guy, and he's trying to kind of beef up and have
his personal trainer, right?
Yeah, the personal trainer one. So he's working with his personal trainer, and his personal trainer looks like a human, but actually when he speaks exactly like ChatGPT. So when he says like, I want to have a 6-pack, the personal trainer sort of hesitates for a minute, and then in a quite robotic way sort of says, that's a great idea. Would you let me do a personalized plan? Kind of the way ChatGPT, and really mimics that sort of way in which, the way in which ChatGPT fluffs us all,
With a really long pause as well before it answers.
Yeah, it has the pause, and in the script, it even has the long dash. It's really clever. And so it's just basically, it's like, what if a human spoke to you like a robot, right? Is the first premise of the ad, the creative premise of the ad. But what it does is it then inserts halfway through, it inserts an ad. So it says, I'm going to build you a personal training plan. And hey, by the way, you should think about insoles because they'll add height to you. And then it says, Claude, we promise we're never going to add advertising into our platform the way ChatGPT is saying it will. It doesn't mention ChatGPT by name. But the really, really funny one, and again, I related to mother-son, hilarious, was a young man, and he's clearly like in his therapy session. And he's clearly saying to the therapist, like, how do I connect better with my mother? And so the therapist, again, pause, robotic delivery, says, it starts with listening. This is a great question. Let me help you answer that. And then halfway through, switches into ad mode and just goes, but in case this doesn't work out, can I offer you a dating app for young cubs like yourself to meet cougars? And do you want me to write your dating profile? Absolutely hilarious. And then again, it says kind of, we're not going to, our competitor is going to monetize your intimate conversations. We won't, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, Jasmine, I absolutely loved these ads creatively. I would laugh out loud funny, some of them.
Hilarious.
And they've got this, Claude has this line, keep thinking. And I think it keeps, the sort of the underlying narrative is be human, stay human, don't get taken advantage of with AI or ads.
Right.
And they've got, one of my favourite ever tracks, music, is it's called Breathe by Blue Chantal and Sean Paul. And and the line they say is, what's the difference between me and you all the time? And that's the difference between chat and Claude. So it's very clever. But did it work? Right? So it did generate buzz.
Yeah.
And apparently, OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, was so ticked off that he immediately wrote a long blog post refuting the campaign, which, of course, gave Claude more attention, which was quite amusing.
Yeah, but so here's the problem. I mean, I agree with you creatively; they were fantastic. But here's the problem, which is that, according to now, this is OpenAI's research, along with the National Bureau of Economic Research. So we should treat it with a little bit of caution. But apparently, only 7% of respondents use or have heard of Claude, compared to 73%. I think use. Only 7% use Claude compared to 73% use ChatGPT. Yeah. So the problem with that is when you're doing a sort of really strong challenger ad, it's in the spirit of kind of IBM Apple, if anybody's old enough to remember those, with Apple sort of depositioning IBM as boring. That works really, really well when the world, your audience, is very familiar with both players, Pepsi, Coke. I think the problem is if you've got one really dominant player, and you're basically running Super Bowl ads to an audience where fewer than 1 in 10 people have even heard of your product, then basically, are people really able to understand it? And are you not just actually sort of reminding people about ChatGPT and essentially kind of advertising ChatGPT or the category, which is dominating?
It's a shame. It's actually a classic challenger brand mistake, actually. Attack ads really work well when people know who you are.
Yeah.
Right, but they're not going to work very well when they haven't heard of you. They're just going to confuse you. Can confuse them about everything, and you're going to promote the competitor by keeping them top of mind and not you. You know, it's.
Yeah, I think something that brands need to remember is you really have to take your customers on a journey. And there's, first of all, you have to build awareness, and then you can start to tell a story. You can educate a market, you can challenge a competitor, and so on. And that leads me to the next one, which I don't know if it's a success or a failure. AI.com, which I think could be described as either a huge success or huge failure, depending on your criteria.
I mean, Jasmine, what is AI.com?
Well,
and this is for me as well as the audience, yeah?
Well, this is a very difficult question to answer, but it's essentially a platform where users can generate personal AI agents that autonomously operate on their behalf, sort of going from, zero to AI agents in like 60 seconds, removing kind of technical barriers, if you like.
Can you explain what that means to people like me who don't know what an AI agent is?
So what it means is AI.com wants to build you your own personal AI that can actually do stuff like book appointments, manage your finances, organize projects for you. And the twist is that millions of these AI agents would sort of share knowledge with each other. So one figures out how to do something, they all learn from it.
Okay. Well, look, going back to the ad, it's entirely abstract, right? We see swirling lights, geometric patterns, some neutral network visualizations. It's very sci-fi, very Space Odyssey sort of esque. And there's really dramatic music. And this sort of, the future is here, AGI is coming sort of thing. But I wasn't on the wiser.
Right. So AGI, just for our listeners, is artificial general intelligence. And this is AI that would match or exceed human intelligence across all domains. It's kind of the next generation, if you like. It's the stuff of sci-fi dreams and existential nightmares, frankly.
Okay. So was it a success or a failure?
Okay, so it depends how you measure it. So according to EDO, who measure engagement online, AI.com's Super Bowl ad got 9 times, more than 9 times as much engagement as the median Super Bowl ad, which is amazing.
That is amazing. Good God. And also, it did break the internet, didn't it? It crashed. It crashed the website, really.
Yeah.
After tens of millions, millions? I don't know. How many?
Millions.
Lots of people. Yeah.
Millions of people. We don't
Straight
know.
on and visited it after it aired because they wanted to know what the hell it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, you could view that as a successful ad and a failure of their website.
Indeed. I mean, I think, it depends whether you take a holistic point of view or you're just looking at the ad. From a comms perspective, I thought the ad was, I can't decide if it was ballsy or just weird.
I mean, the whole thing was just 30 seconds of vibes and hype. No product, no explanation of what AI does. It just ends with AI.com. So the one thing it did was say, go to AI.com. And the one thing that happened was their website crashed.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't do any product demonstration, right? It didn't show you what AI.com does.
Nothing. No.
So in some ways, I guess one could argue it's sort of the worst case scenario. It's kind of trading on the hype without explaining what the actual product does or why anyone should care. I mean, I think in a sense it did its job, which was to generate awareness and curiosity. It's not. It can do the other stuff later. I think if you accept that advertising, brand building is a journey, it doesn't happen all in one moment, then at least it got people Googling it, Its CEO, here's what's really interesting about this story, the AI.com story, is 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬, I don't know how to pronounce his name, forgive me, CEO 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬 if I'm mispronouncing you, but he paid, rumor has it, $70 million in cryptocurrency for the AI.com domain name. And that made it the largest publicly known domain sale ever. And he wanted the name that would own the category, the kind of name people would remember without being told twice. I think what he's setting out to do with it. Now, I don't normally approve of paying millions and millions of dollars for domain names. I think there are many creative ways to get around it. I think it's bonkers. But if you've spent $70 million on a domain name, then I can understand why in your that's literally the category generic. It's literally the center point. All it says is AI.com. It's like, what it's saying, I think, is it's setting out its stall as kind of, we're just going to own the you know what out of AI, right? We're going to be it for AI. It's a really ballsy thing to do, and in a way, it worked. It sparked major curiosity.
I think it's vaporware wrapped in special effects.
Yep.
And that's the fundamental divide in this year's AI advertising. The effective ads, Google, OpenAI showed you what AI can do today. The ineffective ones either attacked competitors and weren't well known. Promised a vague sci-fi future without grounding in reality was the one we just talked about. That's
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think one could really debate that. I guess I do buy that, but the kind of I can see both sides. I liked their sort of I like their ballsiness. Okay, what's next?
Okay, next, one of my favourite ads, Alexa.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorites too, and not just because it contains the very dishy Chris Hemsworth, although it does. So yeah, we've absolutely got to talk about it's Amazon's Alexa Plus ad, which took a completely different approach. It went full on comedy by leaning into AI anxiety rather than just trying to dispel it.
Yeah, and brilliant casting. Chris Hemsworth comes across really well. He's known for being a fearless hero like Thor. But he's cast completely against type. It opens. So the ad opens with him walking into his house, and he's casually holding a massive snake in one hand, which apparently is something he does in real life. While his not his ex-wife, his wife. Sorry, Chris Hemsworth. His wife Elsa Pataki. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Pataki? I don't know.
Pataki. Anyway, she's in the kitchen chatting with Alexa. She's enjoying herself chatting to Alexa. He comes in with a snake in his hand, basically.
Yeah, so he comes in with a snake in his hand because he's like so hot ass that he's so brave that the snake doesn't faze him at all. But the moment Alexa makes a comment about it, Hemsworth like loses it, and he's freaking out, and he's convinced that Alexa is watching him, plotting against him, and is basically he's like no, she's going to kill us all, right? And the whole thing is soundtracked to INXS's Devil Inside, which just perfectly captures his kind of paranoid spiral that he goes
Yeah, this paranoia, you see him visualizing, you see him having these really stupid death scenes play out, and they're imagining how Alexa will try and kill him. So like there's a scene of the garage door crashing down because he's asked Alexa a question and she's shutting the door. He's having a swim in his swimming pool in another one. While Alexa go, oh, it's raining. Let's shut the cover, which is this big. Anyway, he drowns in that one. You get the idea. And then it gets more and more ridiculous with Alexa delivers something, and it's a grizzly bear who he then fights outside. Anyway, there's all sorts of this stuff. There's exploding fireplaces. It's really like so ridiculous. It's fun.
It's so funny, and he just does it so well. It's a brilliant performance by him. He really nails it. It doesn't fall over into kind of the category of slapstick stupid. It's really, really smart, and he just hats off to him. And he's kind of ranting to his wife about how AI is going to kill us all, and she's just calmly standing there like, you're crazy. He's the one who's crazy.
That's right. Yeah. So Alexa says to his wife to go, and then after after all these crazy visions of being killed, and he's all stressed, Alexa just calmly asks Chris if he'd like her to schedule him a cinnamon scrub massage or something like that. It's quite funny. And then Chris's face completely goes, oh, and he's absolutely blissed out, and he says, yeah, thanks, that's amazing. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
He's like, oh, I love a cinnamon scrub massage. So what's really smart here is that Amazon isn't denying that AI anxiety exists. They're not trying to just wallpaper over it, They're tackling it head on and making fun of it, whilst simultaneously showing that their AI is actually helpful. So it's self-aware humor. They know people are nervous about AI in their homes, so they turn that nervousness into comedy, and nothing really pops the bubble of fear so much as laughing at something.
And you know what's really clever? I mean, it is advertising, right? It actually does fantastic product placement throughout.
Yes.
So you see Amazon Prime Video playing on the screen. You have the Ring video doorbell flashing on the Alexa display. Everything feeds into that Amazon ecosystem in a really natural, fun way.
It's so subtle. I didn't even notice it until somebody pointed it out to me. It was not intrusive. I mean, I just think it worked so well. I think it's memorable, genuinely funny, and Hemsworth's comic timing is impeccable. And the ad acknowledges real concerns that people have. It's very insight based. Is this thing always listening? Is it too smart? Is it plotting against us? But then it diffuses them with humor rather than kind of corporate reassurance.
Yeah, and it continues Amazon's playbook for Super Bowl, which always uses celebrities and self-deprecating humor to sell products. It's really good. And I think it works because they just don't take themselves too seriously. And the celebrity isn't just phoning it in. Hemsworth he really commits to it. He's a very good actor and he plays it well.
Maybe we just love it so much because we're British and we love self-deprecating humor. But hey, hats off to you, Amazon. Love it. So what's fascinating though is that all these ads, there's something that all these ads collectively didn't really address. I think none of them actually tackled the bigger fear that people have about AI, which is taking away jobs. The erosion of sort of human relationships, misinformation, environmental impact, but particularly job displacement. They didn't tackle that.
I mean, Google came quite close by directly reassuring people, but their reassurance was about whether AI is scary to use. It's not whether it's going to eliminate jobs or destroy creative industries.
Yeah, I mean, OpenAI, I guess, tried to sidestep it with this idea you can build things, but it doesn't really address the concerns of, for example, graphic designers who feel that AI is already replacing them.
Sorry. Anyway, ironically, a lot of the social media comments about these AI ads are quite negative, actually. People are complaining that the ads themselves used AI in production, which they felt hurt production standards.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl became this weird battleground where kind of AI companies tried to convince us that AI is good, while the audience was already pretty skeptical and getting more so. So I think the ads that worked best were the ones that kept it small and practical help with paint colors, help building your idea rather than grand pronouncements about the future.
Okay, so look, let's shift tack completely from AI and talk about nostalgia. We mentioned at the beginning it's either AI or nostalgia, and it's sort of hardcore 1990s nostalgia. It's really, they've really gone for it. It's lovely.
Yeah, it was a really big trend this year on the Super Bowl. If nothing else, the Backstreet Boys appearing in 2 different ads, which was hilarious. Cast of Friends reuniting, the Jurassic Park crew getting back together. It was like somebody took millennial childhood, put it in a blender, and just poured it out into a whole bunch of Super Bowl ads.
That's right. But there is a calculated reason for this, Jasmine. So millennials are now in their peak spending years. They're aged 28 to 43. And they represent over 28% of US retail spending, which is absolutely a juggernaut of a demographic,
Yeah.
And research shows that they respond, 59% respond positively to nostalgic advertising. So someone's been doing their planning and thought, oh, nostalgic is the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's something else going on as well. I think after years of cultural tension, massive political division in the US, pandemic stress, economic stress, cost of living, wars, threats of war, nostalgia offers brands and their consumers, a safe, neutral zone. The 90s feels just like a simpler time, whether it actually was or not. I mean, I think obviously.
Yeah, one critic described it as brands retreating into antiseptic neutrality. And they said hiding in irreverent celebrity cameos and unmoored wistfulness rather than engaging with the present. Harsh, but not entirely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, so the undisputed champion of nostalgia advertising this year was an ad that everybody seemed to love. I don't know if you loved it, Piers. I sort of hated it. But I'm totally in the minority. Everybody else loved it. It was Dunkin' Donuts, and they called it Goodwill Dunkin'. It's a play on Goodwill Hunting if it was done by Dunkin' Donuts. And this was nostalgia executed at the highest level.
Loads of people are going to love this. Loads of people will love this.
Did you love this?
Like the stuff
Did you love it?
Personally, I didn't know. It's not my humour, but I can appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me set it up because the attention to detail is actually incredible, right?
Yeah.
The ad is formatted as a 1990s sitcom, complete with that slightly grainy, warm video quality that they had back then. There's a laughter track, and the opening credits use a classic 90s style font with the cast photos and little boxes and stuff like that.
And the cast, oh my God. I mean, the cast is nuts. It's Ben Affleck, Jason Alexander from Seinfeld, Alfonso Ribeiro from The Fresh Prince, Jaleel White from Family Matters, Jasmine Guy from A Different World. Like, not just random 90s celebrities. These are people who were in your living room every Thursday night if you were in America.
Way more than that. Jennifer Aniston, Matt LeBlanc from Friends, Ted Danson's in it from Cheers, and Tom Brady, the famous Super Bowl,
Footballer,
player. It's like they've assembled the Infinity Stones of 1990s must-see TV.
I mean, it's incredible. So the premise is really hilarious. It's basically billed not as an ad, but kind of as a pilot for a new series called Good Will Duncan that never actually existed, but feels like it absolutely could have. So it's a play on Ben Affleck's movie Good Will Hunting, and Affleck there's a sort of dig at Matt Damon, which is very funny. But, it all kind of connects up. Apparently Affleck has a long-running association with Dunkin' Donuts, so it kind of all links up.
Okay, so the scene takes place in a Dunkin' Donuts, and the set design is perfect. There's like orange and pink tiles, laminate counters, the menu boards with plastic letters, and the lighting sort of got that warm, slightly artificial sitcom glow, and you can practically smell the donuts and coffee.
So what's really fascinating is they actually got all these stars to act, right? But then they used CGI kind of. People are debating whether it was AI. Apparently it wasn't. It was sort of CGI, but it looks like deep fake technology to de-age all these stars back into their 1990s selves. So Jennifer Aniston has the Rachel haircut, and Matt LeBlanc has the kind of goofy Joey energy and stuff. But so it's not just the actors returning, it's the characters we remember. But there's this de-aging thing that's been applied to them that is really creepy looking. I mean, I found it. I was looking at them going, are they CG? Are they AI generated? Are they fake? Is this a deep fake video? Like, it's really disconcerting. I found it hugely uncanny valley, really, really weird.
I didn't mind it because I thought it was so unreal, obviously, that it was a K. Do you know what I mean? Really? I didn't mind it personally. I just thought, that's quite funny.
Okay.
The dialogue itself is really like 90s sitcom banter. It's always like someone makes up a pun about coffee, then there's a misunderstanding, then you have the laugh track at the background at certain moments, and it always ends up with a group shot of everyone laughing, and the Dunkin' logo appears in that sort of classic freeze frame effect. It's really transports you back to sitcoms in the early 90s, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and apparently it generated 5 times as much engagement as the average Super Bowl ad, 5 times. So whatever I think of it, like, it clearly worked because it wasn't
5 times the price with the celebrities that were used.
Well, that's true. Whether there's ROI on that, once they paid all those celebrities, that's a really good point. But it wasn't just nostalgia, it was kind of a complete experience. They didn't just sort of show you celebrities, they recreated the feeling of watching those 90s sitcoms. So, and then they followed it up as well in a kind of 360 way. So Dunkin' Donuts is giving away 1.9 million free iced coffees of any size, like starting the day after the Super Bowl. So fans can redeem the offer with a code on the Dunkin' Donuts app. And then they're also cleverly dropping a limited collection of vintage and 90s inspired apparel, which you can buy from, vintage shops throughout Boston and stuff. That's really clever.
You see, that's the difference between lazy nostalgia and masterful nostalgia, right? Lazy nostalgia is just, hey, do you remember this? Let's all go back. But masterful nostalgia makes you feel like you're back in that moment, sitting on your parents' couch, watching must-see TV, and they're backing it up with all those really great things that sort of really land that.
Absolutely. And I think getting the T-shirts is really clever. Now, we have to come on to Backstreet Boys, because this totally, I think, is just such a fascinating thing, and I keep going on about it. But first of all, it's weird to me that like 2 completely different brands would use the same, because music is so essential to these Super Bowl ads. Almost every single one has like a famous, recognizable major track. And yet here we have same band, same year, and interestingly, wildly different results. So they were used in a T-Mobile ad and in another ad we'll tell you about in a second for Coinbase.
Yeah. So the T-Mobile ad was actually really quite clever. I loved it, yeah. Set in Times Square, T-Mobile, store floor, to floor ceilings, glass windows, and that magenta pink of the T-Mobile brand is absolutely everywhere. And it's typical, there's lots of phones and displays. It's very contemporary, very, very now.
And then the Backstreet Boys walk in, all 5 of them.
They sort of appear.
Yeah, they appear, looking great, honestly. They're a bit older now, but they've still got it. And they start performing a reimagined version of I Want It That Way. But the lyrics are about T-Mobile's phone plans.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they actually say, that, you know the song, Tell Me Why. I'm not going to try and sing it, but they say, tell me why, I need another line. Tell me why these rates are out of line. It's cheesy, but so self-aware about being cheesy. But anyway, the store employees and customers are delighted. Everyone's singing along. There's choreography. They've got a wind machine. It was just really taking the mick out of themselves. It's funny.
I mean, we work with so many telcos, and we're always trying to get telcos to stop being so tactical, stop being about bundles and prices, and and yet these guys actually stuck to that kind of messaging about why their lines and their rates and so on are great, but they just did it in a way that was so interesting and very, very nostalgia. So it was, I mean, among other things, T-Mobile had secured the rights to that song early, apparently. So, that was good. And they just juxtaposed 90s nostalgia of the band, the music band, with a really modern setting and really just clear product messages about phone plans. It was a really interesting mashup of almost tactical advertising, but with really emotional nostalgia thrown in to the mix.
Okay, so that's Backstreet Boys 1. Backstreet
yeah.
Backstreet Boys 2.0 ad.
Right.
Was one for Coinbase. Okay, now I don't know where to start with this. If it's $8 million for a 30-second spot, this is a 60-second spot, yeah, and so that's $16 million. I would reckon they probably spent. They must have bought the track, but the actual ad, they probably spent, I don't know, $30,000 for creating it. I'm making that up, right? I'm making that up completely.
They could have spent $5,000 for this.
Yeah, I mean, so the ad features this ad for Coinbase features the Backstreet. Sorry,
my son could have made it for them, and he's 30.
Yeah. I mean, it's a karaoke. Anyway, we're coming to it. Yeah, so it's a bit of a disaster. It's a 60-second karaoke style spot. When you do karaoke, it's literally the screen to the Backstreet Boys, and you just see the words come up, and they get faded out. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just a screen with the words of the song on it. That's it. There are no celebrities. There are no faces. There are no people dancing. There's no color. It's just a karaoke screen with lyrics on the screen.
But I think they used Backstreet's everybody, and I think they were hoping everyone in America and the world was going to sing along to it. And that's what they're hoping, to engage with the brand Coinbase. So I get the idea, but the execution just didn't really, in my opinion, work.
It just looked so cheap. It looked like a YouTube lyric video that somebody around age 15 made in their bedroom. There's no narrative, there's no charm, and most importantly, there's no actual explanation of what Coinbase does or what the customer benefit is.
No, it doesn't explain anything about cryptocurrency, Coinbase. Well, they're under regulatory scrutiny, so they couldn't make any concrete claims anyway.
It's just the perfect example of kind of nostalgia as crutch, kind of just this idea that we'll just shove in a bit of nostalgia and everything will be all right. They just thought it would equal millennium engagement without actually creating anything of value around that idea. Whereas T-Mobile used the same nostalgia factor, but created an actually entertaining scenario with product integration. Far better.
Let's talk about another nostalgia ad where I think we will have a difference of opinion here.
We will indeed, Piers 𝐻𝐤𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬.
It's Budweiser. So Budweiser, there's a nostalgic ad. It's getting a bit of flack, right? It's got Budweiser's eagle. Well, it's got the bald eagle, the national symbol of America, and the Clydesdale. What are they? Clydesdale horses?
Yeah.
Anyway,
so just to describe it. Okay, so you start off with this little. You sort of see a little Clydesdale horse running around, and then you see this tiny baby bird. You don't even know what it is. This tiny little thing kind of flops onto the ground. And it turns out it's a baby bald eagle, right? And then it sort of, as it grows up, the horse befriends it. And at one point, it's raining, and this poor little baby eagle is in the rain, and it's looking really sad. And the horse stands over it, providing protection from the rain. And then, eventually, in a moment that just had me vomiting into a bucket, the you see the horse, and the Clydesdale horse is running towards the camera, and then all of a sudden, like Pegasus, these giant wings emanate from the horse, and you think, oh, it's a mythical horse. And then what you realize is this is actually the eagle is now grown up, and it's sitting on the back riding on the back of the horse, but all of a sudden it spreads its wings and takes flight into the air. And what you realize is that this kind of Norman Rockwell horse, representative of kind of rural farmland, has nurtured the essence and spirit of America all this time, and now has set America free to fly off into the bloody sunset.
All right, I'll talk about why it was bad timing in a second, yeah? But at that point when I watched it, I'm not even American, I went, oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
it made me stick on a Filson jacket and some Timberlands, and just like, it was just great. It was just
you started flying the flag even though you're not a Yank.
I really did. It was just, and then they had some little comment that was quite well observed at the end. They had some all-American guy. Someone said to him, "Are you crying?" or something. He goes, "No," there's just a little comment.
Yeah, he goes, "No, the sun's in my eyes."
Sun's in my eye, and I was just like, yeah, it got me. Anyway, so I personally loved it, but the timing was not great, really. In February 2026, there's lots of political divisions and cultural tensions going on in America, and I don't know if it was great timing. What do you think?
I mean, it's interesting because it's sort of like if you're a British listener, it's a bit like the Lloyd's Bank horse, but kind of writ large American style. Like, Americans always have to do it bigger and better. Some critics absolutely savaged it. So one review said it felt like nostalgia for an era that doesn't exist now and may never have really existed in this country. So it's obviously trying to evoke this kind of pure, simple, unified America. I personally think it's sort of the dark side of nostalgia advertising. I think when it's done well, nostalgia advertising is kind of Dunkin' Donuts. It creates joy and connection by celebrating shared cultural moments. When it's done poorly, like in my humble opinion, Budweiser, I think it feels like denial, like a refusal to acknowledge the presence in favor of a mythologized past.
Yeah, I mean, there's no product benefit here. I mean, it's always difficult with beer because the benefit's like,
gets you drunk, right?
But anyway, but Dunkin' Donuts used nostalgia and created a really entertaining experience, and they did showcase their coffee and donuts. Likewise, T-Mobile used Backstreet Boys, but they communicated phone plans. Budweiser just showed like nostalgic, heartwarming imagery, but nothing really about beer.
No, they just hoped you'd feel patriotic enough to buy beer. Ugh. Okay. I think one that I liked much better, and I think you liked, I think we agree on this one, is ~Xfinity, who the cast, they reimagined the movie Jurassic Park, and they reunited some of the cast of Jurassic Park to reimagine the plot of Jurassic Park, the plot where the tech doesn't fail thanks to Xfinity, and all the security systems don't go down as they did in the original movie, and the dinosaurs don't run amok, and everybody has a really lovely time. And this ad got really decent engagement, 1.3 times the median, and a lot of people liked it, and I think you and I both liked it, right?
I absolutely loved anything to do with Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park so much, I might even have a tattoo about it. That's how much I like Jurassic Park. But
oh my God.
Well, anyway, we'll move on from that. But
one day, dear listeners, we will interrogate Piers about his tattoos.
Another time.
Rumor has it he has some. I'm not aware of them being velociraptors, but maybe. Okay, sorry, Piers, carry on.
Anyway, so like the Dunkin' Donuts.
Now, haven't you?
It's a little line. It's a little line from the movie. That's all I'm going to say. It's a tiny line from it. Anyway.
Oh, you're serious? You actually might get a tattoo from Jurassic Park?
No, Jasmine, have one.
No. With a line from Jurassic Park.
Sorry?
With a line from
Jurassic Park. My daughter and I love Jurassic Park so much that we've seen all the films together, and we decided to have a little bit of memorabilia from each other. So I chose Clever Girl for her, and she chose Spared No Expense for me, and we had it handwritten in each other's handwriting and tattooed very daintily somewhere discreet. Nothing rude, but
Is that a line from the movie?
Yeah.
So you have got a line from Jurassic Park tattooed somewhere on your person?
Yes.
See, this is the kind of really
I'm not
fantastic
sure anyone wants to know this, by the way.
investigative journalism that I really set out to do when we first came up with the idea of this podcast. I'm very proud of this moment, Piers. This has been a career high for me, this moment. Thank you very much.
Anyway, anyone that didn't know that in my family, sorry about that. Anyway, that's all. Listen, let's get back. Right. So this ad's fantastic, but obviously, like Dunkin' Donuts, it used an awful lot of CGI to make the cast look 35 years younger. God, I think about 35 years ago that film.
I know.
Anyway, so people did mistake that CGI for AI, bizarrely, but overall it's still cut through.
Yeah, so I think the pattern that emerges is that nostalgia works when it's either genuinely creative or well executed like Duncan, or when it's paired with clear product benefits like T-Mobile. When it's just remember this thing without any additional value, like audiences see through it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Look, should we wrap up?
I just don't think we can really, improve upon the revelations about your tattoo. I think we've peaked.
Well, look, I'm going to say there are these two dominant trends, right? There's the AI and there's nostalgia, right? And they are completely opposites, right? One's selling the future, the other one's selling the past, but actually they're connected.
Yeah, I think they're both responses to anxiety. AI companies are trying to convince people that this technology isn't scary, that it's utopia, not dystopia, and that it will help rather than hurt. And nostalgia advertisers are offering kind of comfort food for the brain, familiar faces and songs from when things felt simpler.
And the ads that work best in both categories understood that you can't just ignore people's concerns or intelligence. Google Gemini acknowledged AI anxiety and offered reassurance through that practical demonstration with the mother and child and their home. Dunkin' Donuts didn't just show you 1990s celebrities, they created an actual entertaining experience which featured their products. Well, no services, just products, yeah.
Yeah, and then the ones that didn't work so well, in particular Coinbase, I think, really but maybe AI.com, depending on your point of view, maybe Budweiser, depending on your point of view, kind of made the same mistake, I think, which was that they thought that the gimmick was enough. So they were kind of, in my humble opinion, AI.com was kind of AI hype without substance. Coinbase was kind of well-known music track without the creativity. These are sort of gimmicks for nostalgia. Budweiser, I think, was patriotic imagery without meaning. That they kind of just didn't, they just used, nostalgia as the hook and didn't really backfill it with other stuff.
Okay. What's also striking is what these ads tell us about where brands think we are culturally.
Yeah.
So 7 AI ads versus 6 beer and car ads combined. That's a seismic shift, isn't it? I mean, we are, it's all tech. So the Super Bowl's been traditionally about Americana, about cars and beer and red-blooded entertainment, but
yeah, now it's about tech platforms and algorithms balanced by desperate nostalgia for the pre-smartphone era. It's like advertisers can't quite figure out, how to talk about the present. So they're either selling us a sci-fi future or taking us back to the 90s.
Yeah. So the most effective ads, Google, Gemini, Dunkin', T-Mobile, to an extent they found a way to be genuine, if you know what I mean, yeah? To actually entertain or inform rather than just manipulate. And that's what separates viral moments from effective advertising.
Yeah, I think millions of people might have tweeted about the Backstreet Boys singing about cryptocurrency, but are they going to buy cryptocurrency because of it? Probably not. But will someone use Google Gemini to visualize paint colors after seeing that family in their new home? Maybe. I think that's...
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we're out of time. That's it. Thanks for listening to Marketing Global Edition, and I was Piers.
The beautifully tattooed Piers 𝐻𝐤𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬, and I've been Jasmine Montgomery. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Marketing Global Edition is sponsored by 𝐴𝐷𝐶𝐸, the ad generator for small businesses that serves you effective and affordable ads in seconds. And by 7 Brands, the international advertising and branding agency that has worked with clients around the world from Coca-Cola to Facebook.